I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Dave.
Motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Approve the minutes of 3:18 and 3:20.
Well, I read through both. Nothing I see out of line, or either one. I would make a motion to approve the minutes from 3:18 and 3:20.
Second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. General public concerns. Jenna was in a while ago, she would like to know if we want to extend the taxes for the flooding, if, make it a month later or whatever. They have to apply for it through her office, let her know.
I got a question on that. That isn't blanket, is it?
No.
That's, you have to, because you said,
You gotta call the treasurer's office and let them know that it's gonna be late because of flooding or whatever.
Well, yeah, and also, you know, the soft roads have kept people from hauling.
they were talking about hauling grain, yeah.
Right, so.
So is it, you need to have,
Some of the counties that have done that, you would like to know if Humboldt would like to do that.
did, they just have to, 'cause I didn't catch the whole conversation,
They
just
say-
call and plead their case with the
Call into
treasurer?
the treasurers and let them know that they're gonna be late because they couldn't get the grain in, or they're flooded, or excuses, what their excuse is, if we would extend it. So
For
they can
those,
get
for those
it.
people, not just in general?
No, not in general, just the ones that call into her, that got flooding or whatever, and they're gonna be late.
I'd make that motion.
Otherwise, the first of the month, they penalized.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I'd make that motion. I think it's a good idea.
They have to call the office.
To call the office to get the, their taxes delayed.
Do we have to put that on the agenda then?
It's not on the agenda, though.
No,
She
you
can
wanna
send
add
in
that to
public
the
concerns.
agenda, we've already approved it, but.
Well, does it have to be? Do we have to approve, do we have to approve it?
I don't know.
General concerns, so she's short-staffed today, I said, well, I'd bring it up. If you
Yeah,
want her
'cause
to
what
come
we
in,
have-
why I can give
I'll
her.
just slip in and ask her
Okay.
if she has to have authority or just...
If it has to be a motion, or if we can just put it on
Dave,
next
where
week's
did-
agenda.
Where did that, come from, where, that she got the information that said you could do that?
I don't,
From the state?
I don't know. She just said some counties would do it.
Somebody probably called her and
Yeah.
told them
So-and-so was doing it.
One of the other
their county
counties
was
doing
doing
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of different farmers that we're waiting to move grain 'cause it's so wet, they don't wanna get scolded, and I said, I don't either. So let's just wait till it's dry enough to do it.
She just has to put it on there, so.
That might change her attitude. All right,
Here's the word.
this is what she suggested. She says they would have to come in front of the board to make that decision individually.
Oh.
Oh, I thought I heard her say call.
Well, that's just what she told
She just
me.
said now? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, that would make sense too. They gotta come.
Like Dave just
I
mentioned,
thought it took
We don't meet
time.
again until April, and that's after tax time.
Right.
yeah, 'cause the penalty would start a week from
March
now.
31st, isn't it? 'Cause-
Well,
Yeah,
Yeah.
End of March is
You have to have
due.
it paid by 31st, which is Sunday? Sunday?
April second.
April second is the penalty.
Oh, April 2nd is the penalty. It goes into
I
the,
think that's what it said on my
Is
tax
that there?
sheet.
Well, that would give them one day.
And she thought it should be in the form of a motion.
Use it already.
Has she gotten many calls in, has she said?
May not get
I
in.
never asked that thing. That's why you should send the women to do that, she always asks way more questions.
Well, Sunday is the
Is that good
31st,
or
so
bad?
the 29th is the last day at 4 o'clock
Well, where did it go?
to pay them, Friday. 'Cause Saturday and Sunday are both closed, so,
April 2nd.
Yeah, April 7th.
Because I think you have to give them the
The holiday,
next work,
the
yeah, the
working
working
day.
day, you have to give them the next working day.
So we could have a bunch of people come in on April 2nd, is what we're saying.
First,
The first, April
because
1st,
that's our next meeting.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
Did it get, okay.
plus,
I,
people even know
I-
about, they would, do they even know about it?
no, they won't know about it unless they're
Well-
listening to our tape.
I don't,
Or they'd read it in the paper, and that's the very end of the week. I mean, it's kinda last minute.
Thursday.
by the time that
Would they
goes
have
in
to call
paper-
to get on the agenda then?
No,
No,
They would just be here for public concern and
they
then,
just have to
okay.
call into the treasurer's office and explain why they'd be late.
Well, according to,
Janice said this would be the board's decision, is what she
they would
told
have
me.
to come before the
Come
board
before the board.
Monday. So we could end up with a few people on the, I suppose during the general concern that says, hey, I didn't get my corn delivered, so it'll be next week or whatever. Then would we make a case by case?
Well,
Yeah, it'd have to be case by case. Otherwise, you're gonna have people say, well, I can keep my money for another couple of weeks.
And most people will do that.
Yeah.
I sometimes wonder if this is necessary.
well, I agree with that, and we already just talked about the last minute, literally,
Yeah,
of this.
Yeah.
No one knows, we all just found out today.
Just today.
Right now, it's, what'd you say, Bruce, 29th?
29th is Friday.
So, I don't even, I think it might be a moot point.
I think, yeah, 'cause, and most farmers have banks, they don't deal in cash.
No, it's an operating expense, if
It
you wanna
is.
call it that.
It is.
I just think, I'd look at this slightly differently from a month ago, and if we were in Mills County.
Yeah, we're not in that serious conditions
No.
here, we don't have bridges washed out where they can't get to town.
No, we have some places you gotta be awful
Off
careful,
road.
but
Just the soft roads,
Just off
basically.
roads. And
Let's
that's,
just leave it.
I think,
Leave it alone.
All
yeah.
right.
yeah,
If anybody's got any question, they can come to the board.
come and chew us out.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. First reading, rescind ordinance number 54, an ordinance on the assessment of wind energy conversion property.
What's the impetus behind this, or what, they spent all this time passing it, now you're rescinding a portion of it? Is that
Nope.
right?
This is a separate ordinance, it's been on the books for a while, has nothing to do with the wind ordinance, or whichever the title of that one is. This speaks strictly to the taxation of those facilities. Completely separate, doesn't have anything to do with that, so we don't revisit that, it's in place as we speak. But, I know, well, Dave has, I have, maybe we all have had some, conversations with other counties and other information that, long story short, they really wish they didn't have this. It's not required, you can see in, section 8, it is repeatable, obviously. There's just things that, I mean, it spells out, they're capped at 30% of the net acquisition cost, period. And it takes 7 years to get to that. So, we don't have any other commercial property with such leniency. It's basically, you know, I didn't get back to when this came up, it came from the state, and was the ability of the counties to enact it back in the, I think, early 2000s, late 90s, I'm not sure on that. But basically, you know, it got enacted, and then people found out, well, hey, we're not getting everything we could get out of this. And the wind industry is heavily subsidized at the federal level, has been for a number of years, still is to date. And this just basically got down to the county level as an additional subsidy, and the counties are kind of stuck with it. If you guys remember, I'm thinking it was roughly a year ago, we were over at the District 2 Supervisors meeting, and there was a lot of assessors in attendance as well, and there's a lot of good discussion about a lot of different things at that meeting. And they're finding out now that some of these counties have wind generation things, that they've gone in and re-powered them, so to speak, and so it's greatly increased their value, but because they have this exact ordinance in their county, they can't capture that value either. So, and the assessors are, well, I don't know if livid, but very discouraged that they can't capture that value. I mean, if you're a residential, or if you're a commercial, and say, if you're residential and you add on to your house, you're gonna pay more. You're commercial, you upgrade the size of your manufacturing facility, you're gonna pay more. This isn't really fair, and I really don't think we wanna go, you know, have a level playing field. I don't think we're gonna go backwards and give all the commercial property in the county, tax break, and they cap at 30%. I don't see that any place else. We sure like new business, but, we don't ask for new business and tell them, hey, come on in here, and, you know, for 7 years, you pay very little tax, and then you're capped at 30. I mean, and we don't have anything existing anyplace else, so that's how this all kinda came about.
And Linda, what's your feelings on this?
I'll do it however you guys want me to do it. I'll do it at the 30%, or we'll do it at the market value. If you go with the 100%, it's market value.
Well, if you go with this percentage, or this calculation, they're just gonna be gone. They aren't gonna come in here at 30% paying. That's my feelings.
So that's, when they upgrade them, they don't get reassessed, is what you're telling me, Eric.
Right.
Right.
Right, they say it's a 30, at the net acquisition cost.
And they can't get past that. Gives you no means to get past it.
Mhm.
And nobody's had anything at 100, at the market value, so I'm not sure how that would work in the long run.
Mhm.
And how to determine market value, I guess the only way would be to use their net acquisition cost and apply depreciation to it.
Mhm.
But we can add to it in the future if we feel it adds to the marketability of that property.
Yeah.
I guess my thinking is, you know, I think that any business should pay their fair share. If they're getting, you know, federal assistance, okay, fine, that's a deal they made a long time ago with the feds, that's their thing. It isn't that I don't want, I mean, windmills in, but I do think they should have pay. Now, whether or not we do the full, or we make our own, maybe we make a change to say, they can't, we can either reassess them if they do come in and refurbish, or maybe do a higher percentage, maybe not do the full 100% commercial, but do something in between, you know, split the difference or something, maybe have some kind of a compromise that way. But I do think that they should pay the county for what,
Well, they won't pay Humboldt
Yeah.
County, they'll pay Webster County. They just won't come. It's as simple as that. It'd
but if they're
be-
making the money, shouldn't they be paying it?
They should, but they're not going to, because they'll go to this, it's a competition. And if you are playing by a different rule, you're not gonna be playing the game. It's simple as that. And this is what the state's put out, and that's what it is.
Do we know how many counties have not adopted this ordinance?
No.
I don't think anybody has it. Nobody's went to the full 30 that we know of.
Oh,
Oh, no.
Yeah, they
Not-
go up to 30 after 7 years.
Right.
And then that's
But,
it,
Yeah, and that's all you're gonna get.
yeah.
And it's a subsidized industry, just like your crop insurance is subsidized, just like, it would be the same thing as growing corn in Humboldt County. And we say, well, in Humboldt County, we don't want you using the federal crop protection insurance. Or you gotta pay it all yourself, you can't subsidize that, and you can't seal your corn, because that's a subsidy.
Well-
I don't agree with the fact that they're not taxed at full valuation, but that's what deals they've made with the federal government, they've made it with the states, and that's the way it is.
Well,
And we can sit there and change this and say goodbye to that possible revenue that could come in, and then we have to raise our taxes on our current citizens, and then our taxes will be higher than our neighboring counties, so no more citizens will come to Humboldt County, and we'll just gradually, our population will decrease.
But why would we have to raise our taxes if our county is going well now? And so why would we have to raise our taxes just because I'm not saying I want or don't,
Everything gets more
but...
expensive. I've only been here 6 years.
But so do our assessments go up though too, our
They
housing
do.
assessments, our commercial assessments.
They do.
So that kind of plays that, if you wanna say cost of living increase or something
Mhm.
like that.
But I've looked at our budget for 6 years, and the carryover isn't what it was 6 years ago. We're also now carrying debt, which we never used to carry. I've seen this for 6 years, I'm the oldest guy here.
Right, I know.
And I talked with the gentleman who were on here before, and from 20 years ago, it's downhill.
Mhm.
So, our county's not growing.
So how much do you think, if wind would come in, how many do you think are gonna come in, or how much revenue do you think that would generate? I'm just curious.
I have no idea how many come in. I figure a minimum of 70 to 80, somewhere in there, that's the minimum. I don't think they'll put up anything that's smaller than that, because it isn't financially feasible for them.
So do we have landowners that have given the leases and signed all that for that? Since
We
already got
have
this?
some, but not enough.
Mhm.
And I think by putting this in, you shut it down. You don't give the landowner the opportunity to do it.
Have we gotten any comments from the landowners or anything like that? Like I said, I'm new,
Yes.
so I'm just
Yeah.
curious as to what is the...
And when we went through
The
the whole
general.
process, it was
Mhm.
about 50/50.
50/50.
And that's kind of what the wind energy is finding out. They're struggling to find landowners to sign up. And it should be the landowner's decision, not
Mhm.
ours.
I called and visited with Alyssa O'Connor's because we haven't really heard anything since they were here.
Mm-hmm.
And, just touching base to see what her comments were, and she said the company has spent $1.7 million in Iowa in landowner payments. The company has spent nearly $200,000 in Humboldt County to landowner payments. A second wind measuring tower is been constructed in Humboldt, and the company has approximately 8,000 acres already leased in Humboldt.
8,000 acres?
And I don't know what that
Where that's
entails.
at, or...
And all she said is they are still actively pursuing. But if you go and change the rules, they'll be gone.
well, this doesn't change any rules.
Well, it changes the way you're gonna,
That's a rule that changes it.
pull the taxes on them.
But, like I said, there's other counties that have these, their property taxes are not going down. A gentleman supervisor from Clay County made mention, they have some, they're gonna get a few more. And I believe his comment was, I really hope we get some money for the extra. So, it's essentially, something's going on to where this isn't being fair to the counties. And like I said, there's nothing stating, as you can read this, it's just the tax, and Sandy brings up something that could be open for discussion if you don't have this, because if you have this, it's spelled out right here.
Right.
30% takes 7 years. It doesn't feel that it's fair. I mean, if this is all about the money, if the only potential benefit is money, why are you capping the money? I mean, you're saying, and everything is conjecture, I mean, we just talked about conjecture of, if they come, what do you get, how much do you get? You know, we know that, we do know some things from past experience in other counties, that they're repowering these things, they're not paying their fair share there. They're hiding behind you know, tax abatement credit. You know, you hear scuttlebutt, because these things are around us, they're close enough into Cassuth County now, and heard from what I'd consider a real reliable source, that just visiting, they're looking around, you know, there's one being built up there in the northern part, they're looking at the southern part, and talking to one of the wind energy guys, and he said, what would be the story? Well, he said, you know, we're in this area, we'd like to build some, of course, blah, 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 and, so we get them built, everything's good, and he said, within 5 years, he said, we'll repower them. I don't know if I can say they double the output, but significantly increase the output, and we won't pay any more tax. It's great. It's great. So, I mean, if it's a fair level playing field, we need to allow this to every business that comes in the county. You know, if we get,
Do
you know,
seed corn companies do that?
as far as,
If you come out with, double the, your corn is a lot better, the seed corn they grew is a lot better this year, so then they're gonna cut back on their price for next year, or, businesses don't do that, Eric.
I don't quite follow that, I'm trying to.
Well, if the corn acres out north of town, if they grow and they got 100 acres and then they average 70 bushels last year, next year they get 150, do they do anything for the people that grew it for them?
Cut the cost?
Do they cut the cost? Do they cut the cost for the next year's corn? I mean, this is just the way the business is set up. The government has subsidized these things in order to let them, to try to encourage producing energy, which, that's what they're doing. And we spent all the time that we did trying to figure out these ordinances so that if they did come, we had it all in place. Now, all of a sudden, we want to change the rules from, do it, no, we're gonna change this whole thing, and they're just gonna walk away, and we're gonna be sitting here saying, well, I wonder why we didn't get anybody here.
Well, we didn't change anything.
You are changing
You
it.
are changing, we've already accepted this.
But this is a standalone deal, it's only on the taxation. You don't, you know, drag in the ordinance and the regulations there, it didn't change one iota. So, it doesn't, nothing in here says no. And I don't know, I've always felt that if this is such a wonderful deal, that, and it's all about money, how do you argue having the ability to capture the money?
Well, right now, we don't have a clue if they're gonna have one of them here, or they're gonna have any of them here. But if you change that, I guarantee you they're gonna.
Why don't we repeal the property tax on commercial industry and assess them at 100%? We could use the money, couldn't we? But people won't come then to your county, that's the thing. If your tax rates are higher than everywhere else around, you will not get people coming to your county.
What are our commercial tax rates here versus, say, the surrounding counties around us? Are we the highest, are we the middle, are we the lowest?
Well, commercial's based on market value, and then whatever the levy is set at is what they're taxed at.
Right, but that's what I mean, what is our levy compared to the surrounding counties? Are we higher, middle, lower?
I couldn't tell you that, I don't know really.
Okay.
Don't we do that with abatement on houses? Isn't Humboldt been doing that for years? They abate?
Humboldt has, a $75,000 abatement for 5 years on houses, $75,000 off the value,
Right.
Mhm.
and then the taxes
And
based
then
upon that.
ladders, stair steps.
Mhm. And, commercial is, residential also has a rollback before taxes are calculated. And, that's figured by the state, and it's 40-some%.
It'd be the same thing as this, like, oh, we don't wanna do that 40-some% rollback, we'll just change it to 100%.
And agricultural's rolled back, and agricultural is valued based upon productivity formula, which, our average price value per acre for 2019 is gonna be around $1,500 an acre. And that's a drop from, it's about a 30% drop.
So is this considered a rollback then? Is that what you're talking about when you say rollback? Is that what
Basically,
this
yes.
is considered a rollback?
Basically.
The wind towers do not get a rollback.
No, but it's similar, they're not, like our houses aren't assessed at full value,
Mm-hmm,
Mhm.
and neither are these,
right.
but it's just much greater. And the reason they're doing it's a subsidy to the industry, trying to grow the industry.
I think
And
we
you
need
have
a
a wind
motion
tower
to,
that's
Yeah.
probably a couple $1 million.
Well, if I
You're gonna get 30%.
I don't know if you have information on this, Chris, but, I mean, I think legality-wise, and it's just the first reading, I don't think there's any action.
Probably about their net acquisition cost,
We're gonna have to have a motion to, in order to
million,
have the first reading, aren't you?
and
I
maybe
think
more
we-
now.
I think we need a motion on this before we have any more discussion. Need a motion in a second.
Well, we might put the cart before the horse, but I'll make the motion that have the first reading of the ordinance 54.
I'll second, we'll see what goes.
Okay, now we can discuss it.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. So Linda, I wanted to ask you said, what are the windmills, what are they typically assessed at, the windmills?
Well, last I've heard, I haven't had to deal with them,
Mm-hmm.
but they kinda started out years ago at about $1 million apiece, and now I've heard $2 million, and I haven't heard if they're above that or not, but they could be, for each tower, and then when you get to the 30%, then you are going to get 30% of $2 million from there on forward.
For whatever the levy is at that
Yeah,
time.
right. Yeah. And there was an issue up, I think it was in Worth County, that one of them sold. I think the whole farm sold for like $500, 500,000. And so there was kind of talk about they were gonna have to roll that back to 500,000 for that farm. And, I think the state came in and said, no, it is net acquisition cost. So,
So if I took 2 million times 30%, that's 600,000. So what would they'd be taxed on that 600,000, whatever our levy was then.
mhm. Correct.
And what is
You
that
think
current
times
levy?
80, you said times 80, you think that'd
The
be?
levy is probably be a rural levy, I'd say just kind of an estimate. Where I'm at is $27 a thousand, and that's a lower levy because I'm in Rutland Township and we have more value in Rutland Township. The more value you get, then your levy starts to drop.
So didn't somebody say they thought this would be mostly on the eastern side of the county?
Yep.
So what would the eastern side of the county levy be?
I don't know, figure it at, $28 a thousand, 28 to 30. You'd have to look on the levy sheet to
Okay, so
see
you
what
divide
like,
that by 1,000, then by 28.
Grove
right?
Township is.
Man, that's not like we're
Take your 600,000 times .028 or,
I get about 15,600 apiece.
Well, I took it times all of them.
Oh,
I had
yeah,
48, because you said you thought it'd be like at 80, so I got that at 48 million. And then you gotta divide that by 1,000, right? Because it's by the
Mhm.
thousands, so then you gotta take it by what, 28, you said?
well, that's,
26 to 20, 26.
Okay, let's do 26,
That's
that's
on
the
the
lowest
website.
then,
do you have
26.
a levy sheet here?
That's 1,000,000,
If we do, it would be...
2.48
Let me get one.
in taxes,
I'll
and that we
figure
would
out
get.
someone. It should be on the counter.
That's if
That's
they
almost
come.
10% of the budget. So it's not a minor deal.
And then, the other side of it is we don't even know if they're gonna put any here. I mean, this
And
is all,
then you look at the revenue lost to the landowners, which doesn't get spent in town.
Let's see. Which township do you wanna use, Grove?
whatever one would be over in that,
Lake,
Lake probably,
Lake.
right, like, I know what Lake is.
Well, maybe you're safe. 26 would be good.
That's kinda what I remembered,
Pardon,
Okay.
26.
26, okay, and that's what I did this by, was
Mhm.
26. Annual.
One of them's at 28.
But then we also gotta remember though, it takes 7 years before
Before you get there.
you even get there. So the first year would be at 0, the second through 6th year would only be at 5%,
Mhm.
and then the 7th year and thereafter would only be 30.
Mhm.
So what cost would this be to the county to get these in?
0.
Roads and things
Zero.
like that?
They pay for everything.
Like, if they have to have
Any
bigger
damage,
pull wheels
any-
or anything?
Any turn-ins,
I
any,
think that's where it's
They-
really good,
Yeah, they pay for anything, you photograph your roads before, and they, visiting with Webster County,
more boom.
they were very pleased when it was all done.
And that's if they can get enough landowners to agree to this.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's strictly up to the landowners. I mean,
And the time is running out on isn't the government considering changing them?
Yes.
yes,
Take
The
it
government
away.
is looking at something, you know, as far as federal government goes,
The subsidies.
yes.
If they aren't done, it's the same thing as the solar, you know, if you don't have that stuff done in a certain time.
typically, it's as industries grow, the subsidies get less.
Right.
Mhm.
You know, 'cause they're getting to be more profitable than they were originally.
So then, would this change then at that time?
No,
This would never change then?
no.
Well, this isn't tied, but in essence, the federal government's looking at reducing or cutting out the subsidies, and at that
Mhm.
point, they'll probably quit building them, because they can't afford to build them without the huge subsidies. Because they are, in essence, not the beneficial thing that everybody would like to think that they
Well,
are.
the federal government quits the subsidies, my mouth is not working. What happens then down the road here? Are we gonna get stuck with all these windmills up and then they're not gonna be
No,
functioning?
no, 'cause the contracts, they set aside money, set aside to dismantle them if, for some reason, they've ever gone broke.
Okay. And they have that bonded, and they
Yeah,
have
it's
to
all
bond it
bonded.
and everything?
Yep.
Well, one other quick thing, a lot of it's conjecture, and like Bruce said, I guess we don't know for sure if there's any other counties that don't have this ordinance. I mean, probably somehow could find that out with our technology. But a lot of it is, you're saying, you know, well, if you don't have another huge subsidy, they just aren't gonna show up. We don't know that. If it's a prime location, if everything else falls into place, nobody, I don't think, can say that. I mean, you can conjecture that, but, we have, you know, an exceedingly lenient ordinance for them to follow.
In your eyes, they're exceedingly, it's right with everybody else's ordinances that has them.
Which is lenient.
Well, I guess,
So, I mean, the reason I bring that up is that there's certainly nothing prohibitive, and there's nothing prohibitive here, and conjecturing that, well, if you didn't have this, then they just never show up. I don't think anyone knows that. If it's, you know, they still, as we speak today, have the federal tax subsidy, so they have that working in their favor. This, yeah, it would be some more tax, but, you know, whatever amount more, but certainly that's beneficial to us, and I really, like I said, see a hard time arguing this when it's money, but yet you're willing, we have the opportunity at the county level.
To throw away $1.2 million.
Well, like I say, that's conjecture,
No, well, it is conjecture, but it's...
because we don't really have precedent on that's gonna happen.
I think we do.
well, you're gonna have precedent if you enact this ordinance, because then they're just gonna say, well, we aren't gonna go to Humboldt County, and then we ought to be able to call Pocahontas, and we ought to be able to call Webster County, we ought to be able to call any other county and say, what are you drawing off of your county, or off of your windmills?
Well, maybe we should do more research before.
Well, we have,
That's what I'm saying.
we have
I've
done
done
all
the
that.
research.
Okay.
We've been down that
I've been
road.
down the road,
How many hours did we spend in here?
all over and talked to Pocahontas. Call down to Webster.
Don't forget to do the research on the flip side of it as well.
What's the flip side, Eric? The ice that flies, we heard everything, from
The Eagles.
hitting eagles to hitting,
Everybody's willing to just disregard that?
what?
That, you just think that's fallacy?
I don't have a clue at what it is, but we haven't got one windmill here right now. We don't have any.
And
But yet we're gonna put an ordinance in to
Keep 'em out.
basically keep them out. That's exactly what this is about. Keeping the ordinance in place so that we don't have any of them here.
Well, there again, that, no one can say that for sure. I mean, there's no, I think the other one that we went through, if you talk about, half-mile setback from a property line, would be far more restrictive than this. I mean, I think you can make that argument, because they can't ever acquire enough land anywhere to put their little groups of them together. But, we're not talking about that. I don't know, I think it's really hard to make a case that it's about money, but yet we don't want more money. And, when you talk these other places that have got wind power, but yet their property taxes don't go down, I mean, I've been to meetings, not in this county, but other counties, and that question's been asked, and they never got a very good answer. They've got the money, why aren't our property taxes going down? Well, they didn't really provide it at this particular meeting. The other counties that say, God, we hope we, really get some money from this. So this is from the county level. It's not all peaches and cream. I mean, it's just look at money and then discount that, well, if they show up, the money and paying their fair share, would be the correct thing to do. That's just, like I said, it's not just one-sided, I think you need to look
Well,
at
we
it
can
both
sit
ways.
and hash this all day
Yeah,
with you.
down the road again.
Where are we gonna
Call
go
for the
from here? Where do we
vote,
go from
vote.
here, Dave?
Call for the vote on it.
Well, I think you need, till that we do this correctly, and, well, good for Peggy that she's on vacation, but, I'll ask Sandy, maybe that, I think we got a thing that, from Peggy, someplace, that it means that the rescinding ordinance is like making an ordinance, it takes more than one reading. So we wanna do this out of, I think it takes, because it says first reading, that's...
This is just the first reading on it. Let's have the vote on it.
This is the first year you get 0.
Call for the vote.
I got a question, Dave. Are we voting,
To accept the first reading or deny the first reading.
okay, is that how it works? Okay.
So we're just accepting that we have the first reading?
No, you're accepting whether you're gonna have it.
Whether to have the reading or not. The first reading don't pass, then it's dropped.
Is that how that works?
Mm-hmm.
It's considered down.
I'm sure about that. I just wanna make sure we're following the
Well,
correct protocol.
that's why I asked the question.
I don't know for sure.
I don't know, but Dave evidently have talked to Peggy about it, and Chris seems
Somewhat.
quite, okay,
30.5 years in government, that's
well.
way in the ordinance and stuff from.
Just so I know,
You got way more than me, so I'm gonna go with
Pass the first reading,
that.
or you can rescind the first reading, or deny the first reading, so I'm calling for the vote.
well, I'd say that we have the first reading. I think that's fair.
All in favor of the first reading, approving it, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
I vote. I oppose it. Break the vote, drop it, so we can get some further discussion and
Okay, I agree.
further investigation on this.
For you guys' information, and I don't have, I believe it's a week from Wednesday, but it might be a week from tomorrow night. The Iowa Supreme Court is hearing this Palo Alto case about the wind power thing, and it's gonna be in Ford City, and they're gonna be, I think it's at one of the college buildings, but if you call me, I got the info, it's time and location.
And you can get in, can't you?
Yeah,
If there's
it's open to
room.
the public.
If there's room.
Yeah, I don't know how many people will show up, but I assume there'll be a pretty big crowd.
Give me the information on that, would you, Ken?
Yeah, I'll send it out.
So where does that leave us then, Dave?
Right now, it's all dropped.
Something that can be,
First reading did not pass, you can bring it up at a later date.
so you're looking for more research, like Kent just mentioned?
Yeah. All right, moving along, we're running about
Sorry.
20 minutes behind.
John.
30 minutes. John, sorry about that.
I'm not sure I want to be on.
Well,
Oh, we're
We're more
good.
friendly
We're
to
good.
you.
Yeah. We're,
No, I don't think so, it's just information.
Good morning.
Morning,
good
John.
morning, John.
Good to see you all again. I got another, presentation this morning later, so I'll be a little quicker than normal, but I'll talk about two things. First of all, state level, the legislature this year, at this point winding adjournment, probably late in April, early May. One of the things that we continue to watch very closely is the question of, is there going to be funding provided for the Iowa Water Land Legacy Fund? And that's more commonly known as the 3/8 cent sales tax. So we have a provision in our state constitution that says that the next time sales tax is increased by 3/8 cents or more, 3/8 cents of that will go to conservation programs, and some of that obviously would go to water quality. So there's been a lot of conversation about, you know, if that's gonna happen this year. I don't know. The last report I heard was that, the legislature is working on a major tax reform package, and that package may not be ready till next year, and they don't feel they can do the Water Land Legacy Fund until they do tax reform at the same time. But that could change. I don't think it's a matter of when. I mean, it's not a matter of if we're gonna have a sales tax increase to do conservation, it's just a matter of when. And whether that's this year or next year or 5 years, nobody knows. And I think the other part of the equation, well, there's two other questions that go with that. First of all, you have the 3/8 cent, and that's in the Constitution, but how that money is distributed is statutory, is a legislative decision. So you've got a lot of legislators that say, well, let's do more money for conservation, but I don't like the formula. So that's the first thing that's gonna have to be addressed, is are they gonna stick with the current formula or change the formula? Second thing is that you're probably, if they do a sales tax increase, it's probably not gonna be 3/8 cents, it's probably gonna be a penny.
Yeah, it's gonna hurt a couple.
So, you know, then you've got the question of what happens with the other revenue, and of course, there's lots of ideas that the legislators have about what potentially to do with that, and that has to be resolved. So that is, sort of up in the air at this point. We're continuing to watch the state appropriations process very closely. We have a couple of appropriations that we watch. But other than that, drainage-wise, it's been a pretty quiet year. Second thing I'll talk about, which frankly is a little surprising to me, is I want to revisit the issue of waters of the United States and let you know what's going on there. And first of all, I'll give you some history for those who may not know. Regulation used to say that you had to get a Clean Water Act permit. It applied to navigable waters. So drainage districts were clearly excluded. You don't have people sailing boats in drainage districts. Navigable means you can basically put a boat in it and go somewhere. Under the Obama administration, there was an attempt made to change the rules, which for all intents and purposes took the word navigable out. So the result of that would have been that potentially EPA could have regulated a great deal more of the waters of the United States than they had previously, potentially including drainage districts. That rule actually went into effect and it was challenged in court, and the court put it on hold in some states. Again, this is a little confusing. Some states it's being enforced. In Iowa, it is not being enforced. We're one of the states now where it's not being enforced. So you've got the court that has sort of put it on hold. In the meantime, we have a new administration come in. One of the first things that the new EPA administrator announces under Trump is that we're going to repeal the old rule and go back to the way we were. So that is in process, and that's well and good. So they're trying to get back to where we were, and that is ongoing. The second thing they said is that we will announce a new rule to replace the old one. So, okay, that's fine. And I'm thinking, you know, under this administration, we don't have a lot to worry about. That the new rule probably won't impact us much, and we should be fine. It turns out that assumption is incorrect. So there is a rule proposed, and public comment is open until April 15th. And IDDA is in the process of evaluating this because, frankly, it is very confusing. If you look at the rule itself, you know, what they say in proposing the rule is we want to add simplicity and clarity. With respect to drainage districts, they have done neither. Because if you look at the rule and try to figure out whether drainage districts are going to have to get Clean Water Act permits, for example, if you do even a clean out or an improvement, you can read the rule several ways. And it's not clear. And we're sort of in a never-never land, frankly, with respect to what the impact is going to be. I attended a meeting Friday with some of the ag groups, commodity groups, Farm Bureau, IDDA, Agribusiness Association, where we discussed this. There is another meeting upcoming, this coming Friday morning, that is the state agencies, so IDALS, DNR, and I think the Department of Transportation, to discuss what they're going to do. The long and short of it is that we're in an evaluation phase right now to determine what the impact on us is. Before the April 15th public comment deadline, we will have information out to you all with a recommendation that if you do want to provide public comment as a Board of Supervisors, you can do so. We will have some sample wording put together for you that if you want to pursue that and make public comment on the new rule, you're able to do so. We would certainly encourage that. I don't know what that comment's going to be yet until we know more. But potentially, if this holds, you know, you all are going to be in a situation, and frankly, it'll probably be the engineer who's going to be stuck with it, where everything's going to be on a case-by-case basis. And that's not a good situation, where every time you want to do a clean-out or every time you want to do an improvement, you're forced to then have somebody look at, well, are we supposed to be getting Clean Water Act permit under the waters of the United States to do that? And if so, are we going to be granted that permit? I mean, how that all impacts us is really up in the air right now. And, you know, again, I sort of hopefully thought, I guess, that in the current regulatory environment with this administration, that agriculture and drainage districts would be held harmless, but that is not the case. So we'll get information out to you when we know more, and we'll go from there and see what happens.
That's kind of discouraging, because
Well, it is.
you just described it in your presentation, Don, but not that long ago, you felt that,
Yes.
yeah, they would go back to
Yes.
before they fiddled with the language, and now they, I don't know what the deal is. Who's gotten a hold of this to...
Well, they feel they have to do a new rule in response to two Supreme Court decisions, which is fine. And if you have to have language in response to those decisions, that's fine. But leave us out. You know, we haven't had to do this before. Why are we going to have to now be put in this neverland, where every time we want to do some drainage work, that we're gonna have to go through this questioning process. So, we'll see what happens.
Let's hope that
Doesn't happen.
doesn't happen. Exactly.
Yeah. So we have to respond to any questions.
Oh, I know we had a few counties drop out,
Mhm.
or haven't paid their dues. Have they paid their dues this year?
Well, we, hopefully they will. We'll be issuing due statements again in June, so we'll see at that point.
Okay.
Hopefully they come up with a formula for the 99 counties with the conservation money, because some of the smaller counties always seem to be like, we're still standing there with our hand out when it seems to go to the bigger areas that they give bigger chunk. And I don't wanna complain, but I wanna complain that we sure would like
Nicer bite
to, yeah,
for
they get the
those.
bigger bite, you know?
Yeah, we're talking about money, right?
We always want money.
Nothing.
All right, well, thanks, John.
Sorry for being late.
So we expect to hear something back from you then, you
Yes,
said,
we
before?
will have information to you before the deadline. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Keep fighting a good fight on that.
Good to see you all.
Thank you.
And you, Steve?
That's
You're
discouraging.
up.
Yeah.
Sorry about being a little late.
You always think you're one up on them, and they come back and bite you.
You got some bureaucracy shit involved in that too.
I didn't really need to listen
It's
to
job
John.
protection. It's job protection. They wanna keep their jobs.
They gotta keep rehashing it.
Mhm.
Thanks, sir.
You always put together such nice,
Oh,
good
yeah.
information when you do this.
Nice and big and fast. Well, for those of you that are new, I'm Steve Hutchinson from T.B. Anderson Company. We've been doing your audit for quite a few years. It's always a pleasure. Want to turn to page 2 of your report. I'll just get over, it's management's responsibility for the
He
preparation
just
and
left. Sorry.
and fair presentation of these financial statements. Our responsibilities as auditor is to express opinions on these financial statements based on our audit, and we believe our audit evidence is sufficient to provide a opinion, and in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the county. Other things, tax dollars went up and our levy went down, which was a good thing.
Mhm.
So our tax levy dollars are approximately, $1,034,000, and our total tax levy went from 9.899 to 9.88. As far as the individual accounts, general fund exceeded expenses by approximately $212,000. Special revenue, rural services fund exceeded expenses, revenues exceeded expenses by approximately $41,000. I'm sorry, I'm on page 9. At the top of page 9. You're gonna see that we had a drop in total cash position, Mainly that came from secondary road. The secondary road expenses exceeded revenues there by approximately 1.6 million. They had a lot of capital projects last year. Drainage district revenues exceeded expenses by approximately 218,000. We did not exceed our budget in any area. So we had 2 amendments, but we did not exceed expenses. Turn to page 13, I kinda went over this. We have cash at the end of the year of 6.3 million. Total assets of 16 million. Actually, if you go back 2 pages, I should say page 11, shows our total assets of 32.8 million. And that includes, capital assets, which in the cash assets are not listed, okay? So inventories and capital assets are added into the accrual base financials, whereas in the cash base, they're not. But just on the strict cash basis, we had 6.3 million of cash, we had total assets of 16 million, total current liabilities of 233,000 is all. So a lot of longer term liabilities and then just fund balance at the bottom. Okay, if you want to turn to page 15. General fund had 4.5 million of revenue as expenses of 4.3. So it had about a $212,000 increase. Rural services revenues of 1.7 million, and expenses only 460,000. So we had an increase there of 40,000. Secondary road, we had revenue of 2.8 million and expenditures of 6.1 million. So there we had a deficit of 1.6 million, and drainage districts, 2 million of revenue, expenditures of 4.9, but we had drainage warrants increase there of 298,000. So that the cash fund balance went down 270,000, but a lot of the expenses were paid by the drainage warrants. Non-major funds, $1 million worth of revenue, expenditure 680,000, so they had some transfers out then, so they lost 63,000. Total assets went down about 1.2 million. As you can see, the 1.6 out of secondary road was all of that. So in general, all of our funds did well. It's just the secondary road had a lot of capital expenditures.
I was told we were supposed to spend down our budget.
No one's blaming you
Our
specifically.
carryover, that was C-49's paving.
Yeah.
project.
Sure, Ben.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mhm. It's all the new toys.
Yeah.
Mostly new road.
Yeah.
That's about the cost of, like 3 pieces of equipment.
Yeah.
Wow.
Page 28, I'll just go over real quick the bonds, or the debt we have payable this year. This year it's a little higher because we have the final payment on the county, Parks Division had that purchase of land from the Naves,
Oh.
so we had the final payment on
Sheldon
that.
Park?
Yeah. So this year is the final payment on that, and then going forward, we just have our normal bonds that are coming due from basically 100,000 to 131,000 for the remainder of the life of that.
I think that's on the LAC edition.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly. That's the only.
Yeah, that's the only debt we have.
GO debt you have.
In the roofs leaking.
Mhm.
How much is that then?
What's
Do we
that?
still, how much do we still have on that then?
Oh, another 8 years, I think.
Oh, okay.
Maybe 7, I don't know, time goes by pretty fast.
Which one was that?
For the LEC,
LEC.
Oh,
isn't it 10-year?
yeah, I think it was, I just saying, let's see.
It was a 10-year to begin with.
I think
I think so.
Yeah, well, we have payments going clear out to 2033, so maybe it was 15 years.
15 years since
Okay.
Yeah.
I think, well, doesn't really make any difference. One, they split that up.
Yeah, one's equipment, one was
One was
building.
longer than the
Yeah,
other.
right.
And one was, I think the equipment's 10 and the building's 15, maybe
That
that's
could
what it
be,
is.
yeah, it's differential.
Gonna say, right here somewhere, I have the actual. Maybe I might- Go to the front and look at the schedules there. Well, I'll find it. Wanted to point out, something on page 37. The county has 2 guaranteed loans for the daycare center,
Mhm.
and at this point, they are expected that you will have to be paying on both of those loans.
Mm-hmm.
We have 100,000 of the 500,000 on one loan and 200,000 of the 500,000 on another. And so it looks like around $7,000 and $14,000 a year that you'll be making payments on those. So that'll be a new expense. And still thinking I should find those maturity schedules in here somewhere. I wanted to go back, page 53.
53?
We have a new schedule of findings, and that was based upon some additional work that we did for the Emergency Management Services Division. They asked us to take a look at some things, and we found that there was a lack of controls over payroll. And those items have been addressed, that the auditor's office is going to review all the timesheets and such before
Okay.
payment. So, if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
You covered everything, and you said in the outset that really wasn't,
No, it was very clean audit, didn't have any real findings. Things of, like the emergency management came to our attention afterwards, and we did some additional procedures based upon those findings, but there was nothing that we could find of impropriety there, other than just having lack of controls over the payroll.
Okay.
you covered it pretty thoroughly.
That's what I tried.
That's what you're supposed to do. Leave no stone unturned.
Exactly.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Oh, you did a good job, Steve.
Good, thank you.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Steve.
All right, thanks, guys, have a great morning.
You too, thank you.
Okay,
This is
Dan, you're up.
I don't know, do we have to accept
Do
the
we
audit?
accept that, Chris?
I think so.
I make a, well, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to accept the, county audit review fiscal year 17-18 from TP Anderson Company.
Have a second.
I will.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Now we can get to
Hey, can we jump and do the claims quick, so that they're probably sitting in there wondering why we haven't sent the box in?
Yep.
I looked through, I had, 97,828.95 for general. And drainage, I had 261,494.77. Are those right?
That's what I got.
I make a motion for those.
Okay. Any
Approval.
questions on it? Need a second? Sandy, second. Any questions on it? Couple of them was a little high on computer stuff, but
Always is.
Yeah, Zurcher thing was nasty.
drainage was way high.
Zurcher.
Any other
LAC
discussion on any of it?
stuff.
Motion to accept,
Aye.
Aye.
opposed, carried. Now, Bill.
Well, that way we can keep them,
Yeah, good job.
Chris,
Do we have something to do?
Yeah, then she knows she's gotta write a bunch of checks.
Yeah.
We had a couple of high bills.
I saw one in there that, did somebody run out of fuel, or?
Yeah, we took, our two new trucks to Don's. Basically, they've got all three of the new trucks had to get new, TCM boards burnt, because the Allison transmission was shifting at too low of an RPM. It was basically bogging it down and backfiring. So we took one over here 2 weeks ago, and then, last week we took two more over. Well, they jumped in the third truck to drive it back, and they got about halfway home before they had to fuel back up. So, yeah, I think there was like $70.
$70,
or
I
something
just
that were the diesel.
wondered if someone ran out of fuel, or then
Yeah, I did the same thing. I went down to the,
ISAC.
meeting in Des Moines, the ISAC meeting, and I made it to Vincent before I
Got nervous.
panicked. Yeah, the fuel light came on when or the bell started going off when I was north of West.
Hey, you light.
I'm like, oh, yeah, not gonna make it.
You didn't get too far away from home then.
Yeah, I was close enough to home that I could've probably called somebody to bring a fuel can, but, yeah, I just stopped and put like $10-15 in.
Oh, well.
First thing I've got on the agenda is to award the contract for the two projects to Midwest Contracting of Marshall, Minnesota. I included a copy of the bid tabs from last week's bid letting. As you can see, we got really good prices from our contractors. Everything was pretty close. The one, Whiteman lost out on by $229, and on the other, it was about $10,000 difference between Midwest and the next closest contract. Both projects were below our estimate, which is always a good thing.
You don't see any issues here?
No, Midwest is a very reputable contractor. They've done, I think in my time here, they've done between 15 and 20 of the box culverts that we've done.
That's the key thing, and then you said, what was you always call it the late start date, just
Yes.
to reiterate that.
Yep, the late start date for the top project is the end of September with 15 working days, and the late start date for the second project is, I wanna say the 15th or 16th of September, with 20 working days on it, so.
So, and we went through this, but that just, if you got to that date,
Then
they
we
need to start by that day,
Or we
and if
start
they,
charging working days.
and if they do on or around their late start date day, then they have X number of days that's in the contract.
Right.
X number of days after that.
So basically, we start charging working days on whatever that late start date is. So if the late start date is, September 16th, which is a Monday, so if they don't show up until Wednesday or Thursday, we've already charged them 3 or 4 days.
Mhm. Just for the record, if that's ever happened, and I'm sure it probably has, in your tenure,
Yep.
have they paid
And then
that?
you go after them for liquidated damages.
I mean, I'm just asking, I don't believe there's gonna be an issue with these projects, 'cause obviously that's a late start date, they could start, they aren't gonna start tomorrow, but they can start earlier,
Right.
once the contract's awarded.
Right, they could start earlier.
Just for the sake of argument, when that has happened after a late start date, have you done
Gone
that?
after
Have you,
them
have you done that with other,
The one that comes to mind that we hammered the contractor the worst on was down in, Beaver Township, down on 260th Street. It'd be, north and east of Randy Lindbergh's place. We had a contractor move in to build a bridge, they showed up with two guys to build the bridge. The bridge ended up staying closed the entire winter because they didn't have enough staff to get it completed, and we ended up doing the bridge deck pour, like the middle of April. So, we ended up hammering them, and I think we got about $25,000 worth of liquidated damages.
Okay.
So,
you know, we're not expecting any issues, but
no,
that...
this is smaller, this is like $500 per working day charged. To an extent with some of these contractors, you know, you'll let it slide if they prove that they were in good faith effort working on it. And, you know, for whatever reason, they didn't get it. This one, because it's the same contractor for both of them, if they show up on the 15th to start working on the one, and they don't start the next one until, say, October 5th, I don't know that we charge them for that week of overlap. But we'll play it by ear, I guess.
Right, no, and like I said, using it more as just to know, state that, and obviously they can start sooner than these late start dates.
Right, yeah. I mean, it all comes down to the supplier at that point.
Well, we don't have a motion on that, but I would make the motion to award the contracts to Midwest Contracting LLC for both of these LC 171109 box culvert and LC 393006 box culvert.
I'll second Eric's motion.
Motion and second, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Get that out.
Yeah.
Bruce voted too.
I got two ayes in there, one for all you one.
The second item I have on the agenda is to approve an application to work in the county right-of-way to Prairie Energy Cooperative. They're replacing a couple of, overhead power poles down on the county line in, Washington.
Washington and Norway, is what you got,
Yes.
280th?
280th Street, those poles are actually on the Webster County side. The only stretch that we'll have to deal with is the half-mile stretch on Washington.
They're replacing them?
Yes, so they'll be going in and they replace poles every so often,
Okay.
basically as they deteriorate. or
Right.
as they-
So they're replacing some poles.
Yes, yep.
All right. I'll make a motion to approve the application for Prairie Energy on 280th in Washington.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I got something for you, Ben.
Sure.
Maybe we already have it. I was reading in my Midland Power thing, in the magazine they send out, and they're reminding farmers that when you put in a new driveway, have them come out and measure the overhead sag.
Okay.
I wonder if we should put a note on our permits for driveways, add that, to make sure they check with the power companies, to make sure they have enough clearance from their new driveway to the power.
Good.
Just for a safety factor, just a note on our, on the...
Well, they always, spring and fall, they always remind them, if you bought new equipment, planter or combine, remember going in your driveways, that with a different piece of equipment, it could be taller, so it might be worth reminding them.
Because when we add new driveways, sometimes they're under power lines that might be a little low.
Yep, we
So
can
just,
definitely add.
be nice just to add
note.
that on there, so that people look at, oh, I better check with power companies.
Mhm. just to catch you guys up on a couple of things, we'll have we have a pre-construction, meeting for our paving scheduled for April 2nd at 1 o'clock out at the engineer's office.
April 2nd?
April 2nd. That'll be with Manats. We're working on the letter right now to send out to the co-ops, the cities, LEC, the utility companies, trying to think of everybody that could possibly be affected. The schools, I think I told Dave to drop something off at the post office as well. But yeah, that's scheduled for April 2nd, 1 o'clock. I talked to Manats this morning. It sounds like their surveyor is possibly gonna come in this week and start setting control up in the ditch along those stretches of road. I talked to our other contractor, PCI. It sounds like they might be trying to get in by your place to do that patch towards the middle of next week.
Oh, awesome.
So if that's the case, we'll be closing that stretch of road again. Still waiting to hear back on what type of concrete they're gonna use. If they use an M-mix, we can open it faster. If they use just a regular C-mix, we'll be closed for a week. So,
Okay.
he's
Make
supposed to
sure
be-
you-
He's supposed to get back to me
They're thinking about doing it as early as next week?
as early as next week, yep. So they're coming in, and they said that they've got a couple, 2-3 days worth of work in Eagle Grove to finish up that project, and they would like to move from them to us after that.
Well, that would be awesome.
I know we've got all of our detour signs still up, they're just covered with bags. I have to round up some barricades and fencing.
You better put a
We'll get-
pretty
we'll
damn
get
good
those.
fence in front of the
Yeah. We'll-
concrete.
Yeah, 'cause as soon as it's in, people are gonna try and pull it down to get around it, so.
And then, no one believed that the bridge really was out either.
Yeah,
They didn't believe it.
had to drive all the way down.
They
to
didn't
check.
believe it.
No.
But when you have a semi turn
That's
around...
science for other people.
Yeah, when you have a semi
Not for me.
turn around in your yard, they didn't believe it.
Really? Wow.
So just, you know that, and we don't need the, whatever kind of concrete they use and whatever time frame we
Anybody
need.
driving
We
through
don't
it
need
like
anybody
they
driving
have
on
tendency
it.
to do.
My guess is the contractor's gonna wanna use C-mix, it's a little easier to work with, and the subcontractor doesn't care.
That's right.
It has to be closed for a week.
'Cause he leaves and he's done.
So what's, it's a week versus what?
M-mix could possibly be open the next day.
But you probably wouldn't.
I'm waiting to hear back from them. I mean, they're over on working days right now, I think, so, I mean, he might try and push the sub to use the M-mix, just so they don't have another week worth of working days clicked against them. Other notes I guess I had, have we heard anything on Livermore's de-annexation? I mean, they
It's
submitted it to
in-
the state, but I haven't heard that the state approved it yet.
I don't...
Nobody's talked to us.
No,
Well,
I haven't heard.
visit with Janet, an unrelated matter, within the last couple of weeks, I suppose, and yeah, it's there. I mean, I think it's pending approval. They don't know, as of,
So-
no, you're not, we're not missing anything.
Okay.
It just, everything's good, it just takes the legality,
Yep.
4 days this week, or a year.
so, yeah, we're not,
We get that.
yeah, missing anything. It should be forthcoming,
Okay.
I don't know if you're saying
but it's just one of those slow, I guess, legal processes.
And then, over the weekend, I had a phone call from a contractor, on the Lannis private tile crossing, that I know you were working with McClure and, Lubenthal's on. He was wondering who to talk to on that. I said, well, I know McClure's working on the design for it, but I haven't heard anything else about it. It was, Lupton Sons. They had gotten a call from one of the Lannises saying that they wanted them to be involved in the project.
Okay.
And he was calling me to see if I knew anything about it, so.
Well, there will be, they'll need a permit to go through the road
Right.
at whenever, and it's gonna be fall. I mean, it's not gonna be this spring.
Right.
So did you Did you talk to the contractor?
I talked to the contractor, I told him to get a hold of McClure,
Okay,
since they're the ones that
Right.
are doing the design on it.
Yep.
I said, I haven't seen the plans, I don't
No.
know what they're proposing, but I said, I'd probably start with them.
county-wise, it will require permit to get a, tile underneath that road.
Right,
So-
permit to work in the right way.
Right, to get, yes, that's,
Okay.
and I say, so they would know that, but did you relay that information to them that?
That's what I told him, yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's-
said- I said, there will be a permit to cross the road. I said, but without knowing what the plans are, I said, I can't tell you any
Yeah.
more.
Just so they know that, yeah, and they do, otherwise they contacted you, so that should be fine.
Yep.
And you gave them good advice that, if that, 'cause just a story on that, it's a private project,
Mhm.
and the landowners were leaning toward Luft and Sons for the construction.
Doing work.
So they,
Okay, and because it's private, they can hire whoever
They
they
want,
want
yeah.
to do the
and
project.
that was,
Mhm.
in their little meeting, that was kind of their consensus, so
Okay.
so it's good that they contacted you, I don't see any issue with that, and it's ways down the road, so.
Okay.
Yeah, and you gave them good advice to, if they hadn't talked to the engineering company, to talk to them.
Right.
Perfect.
The only other thing was, Dock Express. If you wanna stop out sometime, 'cause you said you got another email on that.
Yeah, and I don't know if we need to make that in our agenda where we make Dave our permanent
I'd like
signer.
to, as much of a mess as it's, I mean, the board approves the project and awards the project as a whole, but, maybe we can pass a resolution that says that Dave
I
would
like
be
the look in
one
your
that-
eyes.
Are you talking like, make him a signer for life, or?
Well, for as long as he's on the board, to make
Yeah.
him the signer for these. Basically, he has to log in on this Dock Express account and digitally sign it, and it's turned into a nightmare trying to get him an account.
And he's 2 minutes from your office, from his house,
So
so.
it's handy.
But they want
We
electronic
spent, what,
signature.
3-4
Right.
days on it now, trying to get logged into there?
Well, and that was the complaint at the ISAC meeting
Yeah.
from
Mhm.
the other boards. So it's not just our board that's fighting this, it's every county that's dealing with it, where you've got a new board member every year, so you have to, they're struggling with trying to transfer it from one person to another,
Mhm.
and the DOT says, oh, this is so much easier, so much more streamlined. Well, it takes 10 seconds to sign a piece of paper.
Right.
Take 4 days to
We
put you on.
spent days trying to get it digitally signed,
Mhm.
but...
Okay.
No, other than that, we are hauling rock and blading roads and trying to open up roads that have been closed throughout last week. I think the plan is today, where it came up on Foster Bridge, we're gonna open that. Prairie Creek's back down, so we'll be opening roads up there. Tom's got a couple up in northwest part of the county that we're gonna open back up. And I haven't been down on Hamilton's, but otherwise we should just have,
That should be back in.
it's gonna be the regulars that are still gonna be underwater.
Right.
Murray, Gorman, Devine,
You're gonna have to have
we
an
opened,
inspection on that, aren't you?
we opened Berkmer back up. I don't know that we'll have to have an inspection, it didn't really get into the deck. The water come up, I know we've got a little bit of debris piled up by the piers that we'll have to get pulled out of there, but,
The freight train left then.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So,
Okay.
other than that,
I would have, I got one thing that I'm kind of interested in, we're going to 4-day weeks again, or 4-day work weeks this summer again.
yes.
I'd kinda like to see how we plan on what we're doing for what we have at the beginning of the summer and where we are towards the end, so that we have some papers to look at and say, this is what our list would look like when we started.
Okay.
So we can see if our 10-hour days are worth the hoot, as opposed to, where we end up at the summer, hopefully with a small list of everything done.
Usually the way the online work order tool works is basically from the end, beginning of winter until, well, this time of year or a month from now, the list
Grows.
continues to grow. Especially right now, a lot of farmers will see that they've got intakes that are busted, cross pipes, things like that, all start popping up this time of year.
Yep.
So the list grows exponentially, and then come May, June, July, August, September, and October, we start cutting that list down.
Right. Well, I guess that's, for us, it kinda
Sure, I can do like
helps us
monthly
do,
printouts or something that shows the list of what we got.
well, we did with Trish on the drainage stuff.
Each shop,
Yeah.
and just print that off and send it in to us once a month.
Sure.
So we know where everything's at.
That way, if somebody calls and says, you know what, I called in a month ago, or I called in last summer, and I can look on my list and say, well, it's not on the list, so you sure you called? Because if you were getting our backside
That's what
shoes,
we do too.
right.
Well, I seen so-and-so at the gas station, I told him.
Well, that isn't how we,
Yeah.
that isn't how we wanna do that,
Get things
so.
done.
Or they stop a blade operator and tell them about a tile, you know, that's half a mile from where they're at. Well,
Yeah.
by the end of the day, the blade operator, if he's anything like me, has forgotten about that
Right.
conversation. And
Not trying to-
on a list.
Just trying to help us all, so if that works, that would be awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's part of it, you know, we're trying to create a transparent atmosphere so that when people do call in, we're able to go back and check it.
And do you need anybody at that meeting for that pre-con?
That is completely
That's
up
just
to
an
you. I just-
open
It's
invitation.
an open invitation, we throw it out there.
Probably up to it.
It gives us an idea of what the contractor's proposed schedule
Right.
is gonna be. From the sounds of things, they're gonna start on the Hardy Blacktop first,
And then work from north to south.
and
or-
they'll work from north to south. They'll haul from the furthest point closer to them.
Okay.
But it sounds like that's gonna be their first job.
Hmm.
Right.
His anticipated date would be middle of April, starting milling, with paving starting possibly the end of April at the earliest.
When they come up to the railroad tracks, what do they do there?
Usually we switch to asphalt in that
Do an
vicinity for
asphalt patch,
transition. We've wanted to run concrete, but the railroad company prefers the blacktop.
Okay.
They can peel that out a little bit easier if we're off.
And they
Okay.
said they have a new guy, a new foreman over there, and he likes the blacktop, 'cause it, like you said, it's a lot easier, quicker than trying to find a saw to cut the road to make sure they don't damage if they have to pull it.
Right.
Okay.
This is the same company that's doing the one from, to Rutland for the sake of argument,
Yes.
so that would be
That
after.
would be after, yep. So what'll end up happening is April 15th, if that's the date, they'll come in and they'll start milling, Hardy North, and then once they're done with that job, they'll move over and they'll mill Rutland. So they'll probably be milling at the same time that they're paving on another job,
Perfect.
in theory.
All right,
That's all I had.
appreciate it.
Are you still thinking about getting done for this summer?
I'd like to. I haven't advertised for it, but I'd like
Okay,
to.
I was just curious. Okay.
They did tell us down in, ISAC that this, our part of the state is the counting place this year. So if you see
Oh,
cars
road cars.
parked all over, they're counting as part of the
Hmm.
country, so we get the actual numbers as opposed to if they do it on one of the other three, they just take the numbers and bring them over to us and say, well, last year they had this amount, so they should have this amount, so.
We get counted every 4 years.
Yep, every 4.
2015, last one that we were counted on, so.
Is that to see how many people drive
Drive
on
the
the roads
roads,
and
yeah.
everything?
Which ties into,
Money.
Money you
money
get?
reimbursement, being able to
So if you see a car...
get funding for.
Start
these
going back
bridges.
and forth.
Drive around the section.
To get funding for these bridges, you know, the DOT makes a requirement that it's got over 35 vehicles per day, or
Then-
25, I'm sorry, it's over 25 vehicles per day.
Then we get aid for that if we have to.
Then we can get aid for it, but you only get, I think it's right around 135,000 a year is what we get in reimbursement. So that covers a smaller box culvert job, or you save up 3 years and you do a bridge project.
Gotcha. Okay.
That helps.
Yeah, definitely helps. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Ben. Steve, did you have something else for us?
Well, I have a letter that Peggy started to get passed around. This is the management rep letter just saying that you've given us everything we needed for the audit. And I have everyone but a supervisor, and I have to run down and find Dean somewhere.
Well, don't go near the jail, he's ornery today.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Anybody need a break?
I think we keep pushing, we'll be,
It'd be good.
Okay, approve the hiring of Randy Cracklaw as the zoning administrator at the rate of $25 an hour with mileage to be paid at the current approved county mileage rate.
everything was good when you visited?
I talked to him and everything was good. He would like to sit down with us and discuss what his duties are and all that stuff and rates, and you will find in your packet today this page, and it's got down there $15, it's not, it's $30, and ag land is $0.
That's for our fee, right?
That's our fee, is $30. You got the other counties on here. Now, in Webster County, they got 50, 200, and 1,000, and if you fail to get a permit, it's triple the amount.
Triple.
So it could be $3,000 for your permit down there,
Wow.
if you're under the $1,000 one.
Wow.
We don't have anything.
No.
Story County's got it that, the fee would double. Otherwise, they don't have any if you fail to get a permit. And then your septic system's over on the last column. He would like to sit down with us and discuss all that,
Yeah,
get some rates set, and so we know where we're at.
yeah, I think we should have a work session and do that.
Have him come to a work session after one of our meetings,
Mm-hmm.
maybe next week.
That'd probably be fine, sooner the better.
Yeah.
So we can get the rate schedule
Yeah.
set correctly.
Yeah, 'cause if he's $25 an hour, and we're only getting,
Zero?
yeah, I mean, yeah, we're not even.
Yeah, so this is good
Let's
information.
double it.
Yeah,
Now we've got 2 zeros.
Yeah, and how much enforcement at 0.
No, you don't.
yeah, I mean, that's like,
I would make a motion for the approval of the hire for Randy at the set amounts that you gave, 25 an hour with mileage for the county rate.
Okay. I'll second.
I'll second that. I will note that we had 2 very good candidates that
Yeah.
were interviews.
Yeah, we couldn't get nobody, and then we,
that's great.
Yeah,
That's
they were,
very good.
they were very good.
I think, we should have Peggy send a letter to the
Jeff,
second guy,
yeah.
thanking him and,
Yep, for his time and.
Yeah.
That it was a hard decision.
It was. It was,
Yeah.
any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Now I'll call him and see if we can get set up at his workshop.
Yeah.
Okay, we got much on next April 1st budget for hearing,
no,
meeting?
no, well, I just looked, I didn't see a whole lot on it.
If we don't have much on next week, so then we'll put him on next week.
I know there was nothing on it.
I don't see
I
anything that
don't
we have
think-
for drainage or anything.
On Monday.
We don't have nothing on drainage or nothing, so
No, there was nothing.
we can call him and see if he can come for a workshop, get a time set. And then send a letter to the second gentleman from Oklahoma. Thank you for your time, and
Yep.
he was a good candidate. They
Yeah.
can toss up which one to go.
Okay, I'll put the work session on, and if it doesn't work, let us know.
Okay. Accept the following 19 season conservation help with effective dates to be hired determined by the weather. Monty Hookah,
Hocus, I think.
Hocus. Park maintenance, $18.50 an hour. John Ryle, park maintenance, $17 an hour. Kathy Euban, Sheldon Park camp host, $2.85 a week. Rhonda Benson, Dodge Park camp host at $2.85 a week.
And those numbers, Dave, were on conservation,
Right.
so those weren't numbers that we pulled out of our,
No, that's...
those were
that's recommended from
recommendations,
the
so
conservation.
I'd make a motion to accept those seasonal hires from the conservation board's recommendation.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay, they're all hired, whenever, everything's straightened out.
Now, what has Rick Peterson got going on
I don't
there?
know, I was signing some of
It's for the landfill.
Have you done this in the past?
Yes.
I make a motion to authorize Rick Peterson to sign the financial assurance documents for the Humboldt County Sanitary Landfill.
Okay, any other discussion?
I'll second it so Rick doesn't have to.
Yeah, I don't wanna second myself.
All right,
I have these here for you to
all in
sign.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Rick's got it.
You're
Right, you're
right,
the
you're right to
official
work already.
Yeah.
Committee reports. Eric, what do you got?
Okay, last week, let me sure I'm on the right week here. Okay, on Wednesday the 20th, we were here for the bid letting of the culvert projects we just approved. And after that, we had the interviews with the two zoning director candidates. So that was 10:30, 11 o'clock or so. After that, on Thursday the 21st, we had an informational discussion about software updates involving the LEC, which includes Sheriff's Department, Police Department. There was representatives there. And then also we had the 911 administrator, and it was basically just discussion of getting some new software, some different options. It was good, it was semi-confusing, and I think we're going to reconvene somewhere in April. There were some things that, got checked on that, but anyway, it's this ongoing thing of possibly upgrading software and things like that.
It's always something.
It's, the more you learn about it, the more confusing it gets when you get in law enforcement, so. But anyway, that was Thursday afternoon. And then on Friday morning, over in Webster City, I went to the Second Judicial District meeting. And that was, nothing really new to report there, but everything is going pretty well with the Second Judicial District. And that's what I had for last week.
Okay. Tuesday evening, 5:30 before Dodge had landfill meeting, and, there they took, got a new dozer, and they also took bids on a second dozer. We
Did they
did.
own them, or did they just lease them?
No, they own them.
Wow.
The one's a packer, and, they got different types of equipment, one's for moving dirt, one's for packing garbage. And then, if you ever go to the landfill down there, it's interesting, it's amazing. I go about once a month, and it just grows, my gosh, it's quite a process. They did hire, this Callahan Municipal Consultants to find a, COO for the landfill. Pretty extensive process he goes through. I have had a couple of emails from him that they've already got a couple of good candidates lined up, so. And then they did do a compensation for the department heads down there. We have 3 department heads, and then Lori, she does the bookwork there, and due to the fact that we haven't had a COO since June or July, it's gonna be almost a year, they gave them a little stipend of $7,500 for the 3 department heads apiece. and a $20,000 stipend for Lori, because she cannot take her 3 weeks of vacation, because she actually has been running the place for a year.
Hmm.
And she works till 9 o'clock just about every night.
Wow.
So she's been going way over
Above
above
and
her,
beyond.
yeah, to keep the place, and she's been doing a great job. So, that's about all I had. Oh, I was
You
here for
were-
the bid lettings and the
Interview.
interview process on Wednesday.
Okay, I was here for the bid letting on Wednesday, then the interviews after that, and then I went down and went to the ministerial association, or ministerial meeting at the Methodist Church. Same things are going on there, they're still, they didn't have as many, the numbers weren't as high. I gave those numbers last week for the mobile food pantry, but they did, get all of that up to the regular food pantry. And we still haven't, had any news on any new building for that yet, so we're still hanging at the secondary roads. That's all I got.
Tuesday, the 19th, I had a meeting at Kitty Cat Daycare. Alyssa is no longer the president of the group, but Greg Darling is now gonna be the president. They decided that the executive committee is gonna take turns, being president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, so that, the executive group is the one person from the supervisors board, the school, and then, the hospital. What's the other one? Oh, the financial, the bank, FS Bank. So, that was that. We're gonna have an executive meeting also the 2nd of April, just to kinda go over some things. We need to work over some policies and try to get some things under control there. And then I also had, on Wednesday, a CSS meeting over at, Charles City. It was for the HR, they wanna have, all the CSS employees be, employees of CSS instead of county of record. So there's a lot of, they're trying to get all of the benefits, trying to get that figured out, compensation, everybody has a different PTO system, a different sick, so there's a lot of things to try to, and they want to get that started by January 2020. So it's all, there's gonna be a lot of that, so we can start getting back down to the basics, 'cause there's been a lot of that.
I'm surprised you didn't leave it the way it was.
Well, I think they want, the reason why they're doing it is there's a liability issue, from what I understand, and that every county, because of that, every county has different, medical benefits, everybody has different everything, handbooks even. The handbooks have turned into an issue with some.
I suppose the handbooks could be an issue.
I think that's the biggest issue, is the handbooks.
But I
because-
mean, like, living in Humboldt's way different than living in Waterloo.
Right.
So how, the pay scales, I think, should be a little different.
Well, they're, basically, they're all about the same.
Are they?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. As far as that goes, it's more of the benefits and the handbooks. I guess the handbooks have been an issue, the different handbooks, because this person can do this and,
Yeah.
you know, so, and that's the biggest thing. It's, as far as saving the county any money by doing that, I think it's gonna be a wash one way or the other. That's the way I kinda take it. That's all I had.
Okay, Monday afternoon and Tuesday, I was chasing flooding again. Got the Burkman Bridge closed. It was, could come up another 4 to 6 inches that have been on the deck. It's up underneath, sound like a freight train coming
It was
across.
really a humming, wasn't it?
Oh,
Going out there.
I went way across it, and I says, this ain't safe for people, much alone cars, so I went back, talked to Ben, and they went out and closed it. Wednesday, I was at the bid letting, and interviews for the zoning inspector. And Thursday, I was taxation stuff again on the floods. I did get an email that Iowa is federally declared now, so any private person that's got damage, they can, turn it in, get it turned in. There's a government site that they can go to and register it, turn in their complaints, damage, whatever they got. And that site's busy, but
Yeah.
anyway, there were 54 counties declared disaster in Iowa. That's all I have. Did you have anything? You don't have nothing else?
Make a motion to adjourn. Oh, hold on.
Oh,
Peggy, Trish wanted to come in and just visit about this deal over, do we have to be on record, or we just, it isn't on the...
about what?
I think we want it on the record.
She just wants to talk about the egg wells
Oh,
over there,
sure.
and what, we're trying to get someone,
Accomplish.
if someone was, put something in a piece of paper that would
Yeah.
kind of prod some people along, that we'd...
So people don't forget about the situations.
We'll just invite her in, we won't go into drainage.
No,
You
no,
didn't
no.
get it in the paper.
Okay.
Okay, I'll start taking notes. I'll
On
look at it
record,
right now.
on record.
We didn't get this on the agenda, but, need an approval for a Class B native wine permit with sign sale for Western Edge LTD pending owner's signature.
How come didn't we get that, didn't come in late?
Yeah, I didn't, she handed it to me and I didn't get it on there this morning.
Oh,
It's been one of them weeks.
basically it came in late, 'cause they're supposed to be in by Thursday.
It came
I don't
in,
know.
didn't get on there anyway, so we tentatively approve it and formally next week.
Yeah, let's do it that way, just,
Keep us out of mischief.
Effective date 4/1 to...
Mention here.
oh, we'll be all right, 'cause
3/31, yeah.
we'll be good next week anyway.
Yeah.
But we'll tell them,
Get
Yeah,
it-
'cause Monday's
get it
the-
agenda.
Put it on the agenda for
Okay,
next.
I'll do that.
There she
Sorry
is.
about not getting that on.
Which was that?
Yeah.
Western Edge
Ooh, I feel like
wine
this
permit.
is the awful season.
we're gonna yell and scream at you.
Okay. I'm just wanting to remind everybody on the Agua closure by Gilmore, that, we need to have the people consider what they want to do on that, whether they wanna go tile, or whether they want to go
Somebody just has to bring it,
wetlands. Or, since we're not really involved in this, because it's not a drainage district, we either need a petition to proceed with it, or they need to talk directly, I guess, to Mike Borland.
I visited with Mike Borland this last week, and he is planning to visit individual landowners coming up soon. And then he's gonna put together, once he visits with every individual landowner, they're gonna have a group meeting and make a decision, is what he tells me.
Mm.
Yep.
They
That's
need to be
good,
some-
because that confirms the same thing that I visited with him about.
Okay.
So nothing different. I think by public notification, just if there's anyone that's not aware of what Rick just stated, they contact Mike Borland. If they need his number, they can call Trish. So that we're doing this as a information and as a courtesy, as a reminder to the landowners in that area.
the only thing we know is 19 was the last date that is on those wells, right?
No.
Well, we-
2020.
Sometime
2020.
19 to 20, they're gonna say, that's it.
Right.
So
He was
we
pretty
just don't wanna be the ones standing here saying, we lost, we're done, they're out.
We have something in the works, they're gonna continue
Yes,
to
they
work.
Right.
Right.
If we can get it,
But they have to make a decision which way they're going before that cutoff date.
Right.
The way Mike Naig said it in that meeting was they gotta have a
plan.
plan. If they don't have a plan, the money is gone. It's allocated till
I'm
2020.
guessing they'll find someplace else to spend that
I
money.
bet there's people
Yeah.
standing out there just can't wait to get hold of it.
Oh, yeah. He's frantic
I would-
already.
I know.
I ran into, on a different, are you done with that? Or you got other, go ahead.
I have other stuff.
Well, go ahead. Well, I just ran into, Ron Rasmussen yesterday, and he said, when we read the paper last week about the 35 with Humboldt Homes, they are still wanting to push to get that new bridge across there, so they would be in favor of some type of easement so that we can move this along. I said, well, get ahold of Trish, and we'll try to, when she just needs to know who is gonna put this easement together. Would it be John, or would it be a private person? I mean, what do you wanna tell her?
He was in here this morning,
John Rasmussen.
yeah.
Yeah, I spoke to him.
Imagine
Yeah.
John can write it up.
John, okay.
We'll give him direction as to size. and-
Size-wise and
Yeah.
what they're after, because if we had the top half with Jeff,
Mhm.
and then the Humboldt Homes section, that's a pretty good
That's
chunk
about
of
it.
the, there's the, down below there with, Springvale area, but that would be a pretty good chunk of
Mhm.
where we're looking.
And I visited with the city, and you cannot burn without a special, permit from the city council. They have given them in the past, but you gotta go through the council to get them, and then usually they have to have the neighbors sign off on it also, which would be the hospital and Humboldt Homes.
So the other option may be better with
Marshall and that machine, that,
Doug working with this new machine.
yeah.
And you've seen that?
I've just seen a video of it.
The video of
Mhm.
it,
Yeah,
okay.
he says he'll demo it for us if we wanna go watch sometime, once he gets it.
Now, does Rick Peterson have anything similar?
No,
Okay.
but he may still be involved with the trees.
Yeah.
That's the way Rick Hopper
This
presented.
this easement thing you're talking about, we've had the discussion on easement with Rick Hopper,
Mhm.
and you remember get the width and so on and so forth. Are we doubling up on this with the bridge thing? I mean, isn't this supposedly in the works already with the...
Well, we need to have somebody formally do it, prepare it.
Right.
Rick won't be able to, he'll be able to give you the width,
Okay,
Mhm.
but not the verbiage to prepare them.
okay,
Cause it'll be recorded
Yes,
on there,
right.
under
so,
deed.
That came from, what's his name, wasn't it? Gave you the, Doug, yeah,
Mhm.
Strike.
Mhm.
Told him, go ahead and probably have the county attorney draw up the easement, because it has to be done legally and recorded and all that stuff, so.
And then how we determine damage is the other question, the payment for the easement, how do you wanna determine that?
Mhm.
Is it, because we're not dealing with cropland and crop lots, it's,
It'll be minimal, put it that way,
okay.
because you're actually giving him a benefit. It's
So-
not like we're gonna be damaging anything.
Right, and the easement is just to have the
Authority to go in there and keep the brush down.
bingo.
And maintain it.
Yep.
So we don't have to go through this process every time we
Every
wanna
time.
do something.
And just for the record, get this accomplished, hopefully sooner than later, for all that we've already talked about, the cleanup and the options, and I think it's all good. I think everybody's got an idea. Remember, once this is cleaned up, and the offending brush and trees are removed, every year, we have brush maintenance in every drainage ditch.
Mhm.
I mean, it goes in a 3-year cycle.
Right.
This can be just included.
Mhm.
So I know I had a discussion with, not someone in that area, but one of the landowners in 35, District 35, and we were just talking, and he said, that made him feel better. You know, there is gonna be a slight expense, and an amount of an expense to get this taken care of, and obviously at this point, it's gonna go back to those
Yeah, I think
landowners.
once you have to hit it hard for several years, and then you'll get back into the 3-year maintenance
There you
program.
go. So, yeah, with the easement, everything, I think we're getting very close to getting this accomplished, you know, once the offending, you know, stuff in the way is out of the way, it's gonna be very cost effective to keep it maintained.
Mhm.
We're not gonna have to go through this in the tree shredder and the tree cutting and stuff, every 2-3 years, we're just gonna have a control maintenance
Yeah.
measure in
Hopefully
place.
have a nice grassy path along each side
Yep,
of it.
and then make sure that it's attended to and the brush is cut down just like the rest of the drainage ditches, so. That is just,
And it should improve water quality.
yes, it will improve the water quality for the waters of the United States.
That's right.
Sweet.
What else you got?
Oh, just wanted to let you know, FEMA was,
Oh.
declared federal for Iowa, or for Humboldt County and for 55 other counties in Iowa on Saturday. We'll be waiting for the kickoff meeting to happen. I'm thinking of doing Phil Jacobs again for
He's familiar.
management
Very.
on it. So I'd have to put a notice in the paper after our kickoff meeting. And then, I don't know if we put a notice in again about to check your tiles and your open ditches to the landowners in the paper.
Yes.
Mhm.
I spoke with Mike Jacobson, and he said, even the tile, has sunk down in some places. He's got one in Wacusta, I can't remember what section offhand, but, he's pretty sure that that's happened because of this freezing, thawing,
Yep.
all of this going on. So I expect to see probably outlets broken off from the ice. He said he's got a major sloughing problem that's kind of going into a grass waterway area, that type of stuff. I'm sure there's a whole lot of...
Well, getting back to your thought process, yes, I think you should put a notice to remind people to look at those, you know, really keep an eye out this spring, because there again, it's time sensitive with the
Right.
FEMA part of it, just like it was last year. There's only a certain, it's gonna end at some point, so,
I think it's 60 days after the kickoff or something
Yeah,
like that. It's
so it-
not
After
a...
March.
it's got a date stamp on it. So it's fair, just as we're reminding the ag well landowners, that remind all the landowners to really be diligent in taking a harder look at their drainage issues when they're out there this spring.
Yep, because there was some that was missed, even though there was a notice last year.
Yep.
Mhm.
People just don't, you don't think about it, so. And that's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Anything else? All right.
Gary, you got anything?
Well, I just read a couple things, and it's just for your information, and just double check with you guys. Glad to see that you guys looked at the solar thing, but, just took it under advisement. Because if you're not aware, the roof up here is not good for putting the solar panels on it. Because you have the fiber roof, and years ago it was puddling, so under the fiber, there are poly-shaped triangles that made the drainage on that roof over to the drains on the roof. So if you try putting stakes down to anchor your solar panels, you're gonna be disrupting that and, have major issues. So I just wanted to make you aware that those foam angles or triangles or, blocks were put underneath that fiber roof to get it to drain properly. Because we were having water stand, and it was leaking in around the elevator and leaking in certain places up there because water was standing on the roof, and we had to shape it to drain it. So, just a word for why someday if you ever decide to go that route.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Now, I see what you're doing out there on that stream from up to, what is it, 19th Avenue North? You're aware, the way it sounds, you're just cutting trees, you're not doing any dredging, any changing of the grade.
Correct.
Okay, because you aren't allowed to,
No.
because that is a natural stream. And then I don't see, you guys are working on an easement, but that's not district property.
No.
You're
It's
out,
private
it only goes
property.
you can only affect about 150 feet into that natural stream.
We've actually talked to the DNR and we can
They
clean
won't
it.
let you?
Yeah.
Okay.
They'll let us take out the brush. As long as you don't disturb the banks.
Yeah.
Right,
But
don't
I
make
mean,
it
you're talking about an easement for a bridge across it.
No, that's
No, we're not doing the
Humboldt
bridge.
Homes.
Humboldt Homes is doing the bridge.
Humboldt Homes is anxious to get the bridge replaced, so they're
Oh, I see.
wanting to see if we're gonna do something with the vegetation.
Okay.
They're all for it, they'd just like to know if we're gonna do it yesterday, 'cause that's how anxious they are to do it. And I said, well,
I think you guys are on top of it, just.
I don't think any...
Old things that
We're
come back to my
stumbling through.
memory, you know, as you get older, your old things come back, my Alzheimer's.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
just gonna mention those things to you, so.
We appreciate it.
I did have a flyer, Miles Van Patten got it for me, it was out of a magazine in North Dakota. They're decommissioning windmills, and they're estimating the cost of about $200,000 to $300,000 per windmill to decommission them, because of the hauling the steel so far to get rid of it. You know, it just depends upon what the company takes out, but if you gotta if the farmer has to take down the tower and all that, then you got the road and the road damage, and, you know, then you get all the concrete and all that reroute out of there. If you're gonna take it all away, they were talking $200,000 to $300,000 per windmill for decommissioning.
Mhm.
So, it was just an article he had out of a news, farm news out of North Dakota, because they're shutting down a bunch of them up there after 20 years.
Why did they decide to do that, do you know,
I
Gary?
don't know. Anyway, that's just what I had. You guys are doing good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't hear that very often.
Yeah.
Thanks for the heads up on the
Hey, I've been
roof.
on that side of the table, guys.
Thanks for the heads up on the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not completely senile yet, we'll...
No, and then what you read, what the legislature's doing, you know, and they're taking away, they're gonna make it so you gotta pay to get into the system or into the grid, in the future, where the ones that are already in there aren't gonna be taxed for that. It isn't gonna be as profitable as it seems, and you know yourself from what that guy was preaching, it was for his pocket, not yours.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, he's a salesman.
Yeah,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
I'll second.
Have a good day, guys.
Thank you, Gary.
Gary?
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, adjourned, 10:32, or 10:30.